I'm Lisanne Fear from the Mustang Discovery Foundation, and I've seen the power of what these horses have, and I really support Seeing Through Horses campaign.
Welcome to America's Horse on America's Trail with the Mustang Discovery Ride. I'm your host, Julianne Neal. With a goal of 5,000 miles, 5,000 Mustangs, the Mustang Discovery Ride team hopes to bring attention to adoption into appropriate homes for these living legends. Enjoy the ride. Welcome back for the second half of Lisanne's conversation with Lynn Thomas of Horses for Mental Health. We're on location at Grand Staircase in the Escalante National Monument, Utah. We'll chat a little more about the inaugural Seeing Through Horses campaign and preview Lynn's first ride on a Mustang as we prepare to head through Bryce Canyon.
So my name is Lisanne Fear. I'm here with the Mustang Discovery Ride. I'm very excited for our guest today because we're going to talk about some mental health. So can you introduce yourself and kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm so honored and excited to meet you and be part of this amazing project that you're doing. My name is Lynn Thomas. I'm a mental health professional, and I'm president of Horses for Mental Health, which is a nonprofit organization to bring awareness of the power of horses that horses can bring for mental health and to advocate for more mental health services to include horses. So we're hoping that every person around the world, as they struggle with mental health needs, will think of a program involving horses because it's amazing what horses can do.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here today because talking mental health is very near and dear to my heart because I think, it's a way of breaking down the taboo of what is mental health when you finally speak out loud about it. And it's obviously very near and dear to my heart to have horses involved in that. For me, particularly Mustangs. So I'm excited to hear what you've seen and experienced from your side of like the mental health side in terms of seeing what those horses are capable of doing in between humans and even like possibly helping the horses along too.
Right. Yeah, well, I do think that this is a benefit for both horses and humans. I think this creates another niche for horses to bring another benefit to the world. I mean, they've been a big part of history over centuries, and now to really focus on mental health needs. I mean, we're in a mental health crisis in the world, and there's such a need for different and new ways to reach people and help us just learn about ourselves and heal and strengthen and grow, and horses can play a big part of that. And I can't wait to hear your story as well, like how they've played an impact in your life. Well, maybe I can say something about that because, talking about funding, and part of the Seeing Through Horses campaign is also a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign to support programs. So they have the resources to provide these services and expand and serve more people. And so, we're excited that this is an opportunity for people to share their support and support these programs and support clients getting access to these services. So really excited about that too.
Yeah, that's a lot of where I want my foundation. Like, I feel like we can be a good key in that in terms of, so the foundation's name is the Mustang Discovery Foundation, and our new tagline is going to be Discover Living Legends, whether that be, the humans that are making an impact in life, but more importantly, the Mustangs and the horses. And so I would like to be that resource where if people do need help or they want to learn, like, how and where to start, they can come to our foundation and find all the resources that they need, and where we highlight all of these programs across the country. So we have these big eventually I'm going to have these big map databases where you can type in your zip code and you can find either Mustang trainers that are helping people train their own horses, or you can find a veterans program, or you can find a troubled youth program, like kind of near you in your area, because there are so many amazing programs out there that are happening and really making differences. But how do we help each other to highlight each other? Because we're so blessed and so fortunate to live in America. And I've really felt that way across this trip. I don't know how many places you could actually ride as a single girl with 4 animals and 2 dogs going across country safely. So we're so fortunate to be Americans and pursue so many things. And we do have so many resources out there that just aren't adequately recognized. So how do we bring recognition to the great work that all these different organizations are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I don't know if we talked about that this is going to be a documentary, right? Should we maybe so this is being documented, your journey across the country, and to bring awareness is being documented as well for a documentary. Do you want to say anything about that documentary?
Yeah, so before I ever even started this trip, it was really important to me that we have a film capacity for it. So having a documentary highlighting the journey was the best way, because so many people, they don't necessarily go out to the movies anymore. They don't necessarily go to big public speaking events or anything. Unfortunately, most of society enjoys living indoors very comfortably. And so how do we reach these people that never leave their rooms, and like the people that actually need the help? How do we reach them in a platform that's better for them? And so it was really important to have a documentary done, because that's how we would grow this into something where it could reach the greater good and population across the country. So, and even in other countries, which is great. I send a couple postcards to Germany and Canada, and it's cool to send international postcards every month. But it's been a blessing to have Julianne Neal with JA Media Productions as a part of this, because her heart's in the right place. And I know it's, in order to do this, it takes teamwork to make the dream work, as cliche as that is, but that's the reality. And it's good to have people that are here for the horses and the Mustangs, and see the greater, better picture, like beyond just the day-to-day of survival along the ride. So really, really grateful to have that, because it will be such a great resource later. And I'm even really excited to write a book. I write a lot of like little posts on Facebook, and well, they aren't little, they're actually very long. They're quite novel length posts, but I'm excited to convert some of that writing into a book later. It's always been a dream of mine to become a published author, and this journey has opened so many doors for me in that regard. But what I'm most excited about this journey is like opening doors for so many more horses. For me personally, that's my number one, and then the human part of it. But there's so many horses out there that need good, loving, and adoptive homes. But how do we get those doors open for them to go into that loving and adoptive home? So I'm really excited to have this documented, because there's been some crazy times, and people don't fully understand that until you have a visual that goes along with that. So it's crazy to be sitting here in Utah a year after going across. And I tried to write a post 2 days ago, and I was going through like all the photos, and I was like, it seems like it all happens in the blink of an eye, again with the cliches, but they're so true. And to go back through all the photos, I was trying to sort and put together like 80 of my favorite photos, and I just became overwhelmed. We've done so much on this journey, and been a part of so many things, and met so many amazing people, and amazing horses along the way too, that it's hard to sum it all up. So I'm really, really grateful to have the documentary to kind of help facilitate that summarization of the impact of this journey, and I hope that it continues to grow, because I feel that traveling across the country, I've just been planting a lot of seeds as I go, of like little ideas and things. And as soon as this is done, it's time to go cultivate those seeds and help them grow. And so I'm really excited, though. It's been a very unique way to cross the country, but it's been very uniting to go across the country this way. And I feel, not one individual can solve an entire problem, but it takes a mass amount of individuals, especially relating to the Mustang situation. There's so many different facets to it. And there's so many great organizations out there that are focused on other parts around the Mustang issue, but my piece is to get more horses adopted, and through that, help more humans along the way as well. So
that's amazing. So before we get into talking about what we're going to do next, I don't know if would you be okay to share the story of your first Mustang? Because I think you just shared about the 4 Mustangs that carried you to safety.
Yeah.
But I loved your story of your first Mustang too. Is that okay to share that too?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I grew up as a kid really being involved in the American Quarter Horse Association and the APHA, which was the American Paint Horse Association. And growing up as a kid, Mustangs were just referred to as desert rats where I was at in Wyoming. No one used them. No one really had one as for ranch horses or anything. And so it wasn't until college that I was so desperate for money, I was willing to swing my leg over any horse that someone would pay me to ride. And so I had a client approach me one time and she asked me if I'd ride her Mustang mare. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, I haven't ever worked with a Mustang before, but sure. And she was just the most lovely little horse ever. Oh my gosh, she was so sweet, so nice, so gentle. I didn't know this until 6 years later. That horse had gone to like a professional Mustang trainer. He had gotten thrown 3 times from this horse. And he had told my client to send that horse back, that she was just absolutely crazy. And I'm happy that she didn't tell me any of that beforehand, because I think I would have misjudged her and been like, oh, yeah, she is crazy. But she never once tried anything like that with me. And speaking about the forge and the bond that you have with these horses, like 6 years went by, I'd gone on to all these other horses, and she just kind of sat as like a beautiful pasture ornament for a lot of years. And my client asked me several years later if I'd be willing to take her into my own herd, and I was like, sure. And so I was so excited, and I hadn't ridden this horse for 6 years. She hadn't been really rode for 6 years, and it was so amazing to get on her. And at the time I was living in Salt Lake, so like I was just at a barn. I never got to take her outside or on a trail ride, and I took her out on the ranch that I was working on, and I was having a horse that didn't want to cross water, and it was a quarter horse. And here I am on this Mustang. She hadn't been wild since she was 2. She'd never crossed water like that. And I just asked her to go, and sure enough, she was like, all right, yeah, whatever you say. Next ride, I'm out there moving cows on her. And just to see how long that love and trusting bond lasts with these horses is just incredible. And so that little mare gave me the confidence when I was in college that my client told me I needed to watch this movie called Wild Horse, Wild Ride. And so I did. And I came back the next day, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this so bad. It was the 100-day makeover competition, and my client was like, yeah, I figured. And she'd like already printed out the application, filled out the referral, got another client of mine to fill out the other referral. And soon enough, I was on my way to pick up my very first completely wild Mustang. And at that time, for that competition, just a random horse thrown in your trailer, and they tell you, good luck, we'll see you in 100 days. And I am so grateful and blessed and fortunate that my very first Mustang ever was my horse Phineas, who you're going to ride later today. He was a doll straight from the beginning. He was eating out of mine and my client's hands the night he came home. And he was just lovely. I mean, coming out of the wild, I was on him in 10 days, and it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel forced. And he was just, oh, he was so lovely. But I was in college, back to being really broke, financially broke, and in that competition you're required to sell your horse at the end after you go to the competition, and I just didn't have the money to buy him back. And so he left, and I had been ramping up to this big thing, and then right after that event, I mean, I just tanked. I spent 2 months, like, I had dropped out of school. I spent 2 months just laying on my couch, just like I'd barely get up to let the dog out to go to the bathroom. I was just so sad that he was gone, and just I felt like I had no purpose in life. I'd gotten another competition animal, but it wasn't the same connection. And then because I was sitting on the couch so long, like, I got way behind in the competition, and I gave up on that. And it's just, man, I was in a really dark place after that. And luckily I had met a boy. That boy, after 2 months of being together, asked me to move to Nebraska, and I was like, yeah, I just need to get out of here. Like, I can't do this anymore. And so I moved to Nebraska, of all places. And while I was there, the gal that had bought Finn from me, she unfortunately went through a divorce and had to liquidate her assets, and part of that was the horses. And so I was able to buy back Finn, and thank God I did, because he's just been amazing. He's such an incredible ambassador for the Mustang brand, and he's amazing. And so I'm so grateful and thankful to have Finn. He's been there for me every time I've needed him to pull through, especially with other people too. He's just so solid and reliable. I don't know what I'd do without him. So yeah, he changed my life, and thank God I got him first, because my next Mustang I got, she was wild. Like, I loaded her in the trailer, and like Finn, like when I loaded him in the trailer for the very first time, he just stood there quiet. Like, we had a 7-hour drive. We never once felt him walk around. This mare was bouncing my trailer. Like, she was, I think she was just ricocheting herself off of the wall. She was crazy. It took me 2 months just to touch her for the first time. Whereas Finn, like, was eating out of our hands the very first night he came home. And it took me 2 years to ride her for the first time. Whereas Finn, I'd been on in 10 days, and I was like, oh man, if this had been my first Mustang, like, I would have thought that they were all crazy, and Grandpa was right about everything. But I'm so grateful and thankful for Finn for showing me a better way, and that deeper bond and that deeper connection. And that mare that I got, she's actually my white horse, Salt. And after 4 years, she's pretty about the domestic life, and to be able to take this horse that was so wild that I couldn't touch for the longest time, and be able to take her on these pack trips and turn her loose in the mountains, no halter, no nothing, just bare, and know that she's going to come back to camp and be there with me and want to be there. It's just, oh, that's so rewarding. These horses are just incredible, but man, they make you learn a lot about yourself along the way too, because I thought I was a pretty hotshot trainer at that point when I got her, and I found out that I didn't know very much at 19 years old. So yeah, these horses have just absolutely changed and revolutionized my life. So I'm so grateful and thankful to them for that. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. And I love how much they teach us. It's amazing.
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get to go ride some Mustangs.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. No, most of my time is spent with horses, on the ground and with clients, and doing amazing things on the ground, because there's so much that can happen unmounted with horses, and through that relationship, like you're talking about, that bond and that connection. And so yeah, and I think what's neat too about horses is they don't just give you their friendship kind of thing like other animals might do. That you gotta work with them and really build a relationship. So but yeah, so I actually haven't been on a horse's back for like 2 years.
Wow.
So but I'm super excited to experience today and going on this ride with you today and seeing that. I think the other thing is just being in nature, like you said. Just so much of our time is spent inside, and horses help us get outside and experience the whole experience, nature. So yeah, I'm so excited. I'm trying to think if I've even ever ridden a Mustang. That's probably my first time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll tell you what though, like, I don't know how long you've been following, but a couple months ago, I posted a little video. There was this 10-year-old girl that she had never ridden Mustangs before. She had ridden some horses. She had never rode more than 30 minutes at a time. And her mom just left her with me for the day. And so it's just the two of us. And she jumps on and she rides for 17 and a half miles with me. And within the first mile, like, she was on Finn. And I was riding Chilena, I was leading Abilene and Pistachio. And within the first mile, she's like, I can lead a horse. And so I give her Stash. And so for the rest of the day, I mean, she's up there, she's keeping him in check, and she's just so excited. And after that, I mean, her mom texted me just the other day and was like, yeah, so Gaia hasn't let go. She's getting a Mustang. Like, she really wants a Mustang. And I just think that's so incredible what these horses have to offer, because, I mean, I was even guilty of it in terms of Mustangs had a bad rap previously, like, in my mind. And getting to know and be a part and see that they aren't all these wild, crazy zebra, gazelle-like animals, that they're actually very closely related to our domestic horse. And be able to build that connection and communication with them, it's incredible. But to see what these horses are capable of, and I'm so proud of my horses for being such great ambassadors, and being able to show others too, like, their powers and just how incredible they are. So yeah.
What do you know about where we're going today?
Well, I have to say, you probably know more than me. So we're headed to Buckskin Gulch today. It's been a bucket list thing of mine to actually ride through a slot canyon. And so it sounds like we'll actually get to go ride through some slot canyons, which I just can't wait to see the colors and be a part of that experience. So
What is a slot canyon?
yeah, so a slot canyon, from my understanding, we'll see how this changes. But it's actually like a very narrow canyon, which is why they call it a slot. Is because it's so narrow and it's so tall. But we're fortunate to be in this area where, with the way that the geology worked, that there's all this different layering through the narrow walls of the canyon. So I'm pretty excited to get to go experience a part of that.
It's going to be exciting.
Yes.
It's going to be magical because the desert is magical.
It is.
And
yeah.
Mustangs are magical. So.
And most Mustangs are from the desert because, like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like they got pushed onto the land that was unwanted or felt deemed like unworthy of developing. And so that's essentially like the cracks and crevices where the Mustangs have really taken root and just grown with it. And so they're such hardy animals. I'm so grateful and thankful to be on Mustangs because, yeah, we're getting back into their natural environment and habitat.
Speaking of Mustangs, it's time for a quick break from the podcast. I'd like to mention the upcoming Mustang Summit in Sacramento during the EQUUS Film and Arts Fest. We'll be joining Lisa Dearson, as well as a host of authors, artists, and filmmakers, all celebrating the 10th anniversary of the festival. We're back in person this year at the Guild Theater and the Equestrian Center at Rancho Murrieta, but you can also visit the EQUUS Film Festival website for more information about the virtual fest. Check us out at equusfilmfestival.net. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by JA Media Productions.
You do amazing. You're an incredible spokesperson and advocate, and you're young, and wow. You already, what you've accomplished at this young age, it's like what you'll be able to do and the benefit and good you're going to bring into the world is amazing.
Yeah,
So.
that's good because I'm freaking out about turning 30 in January.
It all happens before. Okay, it actually happens. What happens over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I promise. You're going
It's
to be
crazy.
great. You're going to appreciate 30. I know you will.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm quite like, so my sister and I were very opposites. She's 4 years younger, so she's 25, so she'd be about like your kids. She's married, she owns a house, she has a baby, and she's working on her doctorates. Like, she's living very much like the life that our mother wanted us to. And then I vividly remember, like, one time I was riding along this busy highway. I think I was actually in Ohio. And I'm like riding along this busy highway. I'm leading my couple animals. There's trucks blowing by me at 70 miles an hour. And I'm sitting there on the phone while doing all this and talking to my sister. And she's sitting there, and because of COVID, like, she's like just sitting there with her cat. And at that time, she had just had her baby, and she was like kind of back to work, but in a remote thing. Or no, she hadn't had the baby yet. Just kidding. So she's very pregnant. She's sitting at home. She's working with her cat next to her. And like, is hearing semis blow by me. And I was like, we're in very different places in life right now. Like, very, very different. Like, I don't know how we could be more opposite, but I guess it works. So, yeah.
Well, you've achieved something that I don't know, can anyone else say that they've done what you've done? Like, this is
I mean, it
This
depends on
is
what capacity. Like, this ride
mind-blowing.
is very much for the horses. Whereas Bernice Indy did a lot of riding, but it was more for herself and like the empowerment of what a human could do, essentially, in women's rights and that kind of thing. So I think it's different. Everyone's journey and path is different, whether or not they do it the same or like same journey. Because there's a guy actually right now riding across the country behind me on the American Discovery Trail, and he's on a big buckskin horse as well. Not a Mustang, it's a quarter horse, but he's a veteran and he's riding for PTSD, and he wants to essentially build the funds for this ranch. And so, I mean, he's riding across the country, but he's doing it for his own thing. So that's great. You know?
Yeah, it's all great. We're doing unique things that follow our passion, follow our heart and our beliefs, and I don't know, you're making a difference. I was going to ask your name. Did your mom name you Lisanne? on purpose so you could be fearless. Like,
Oh, no. I came up with that in college. That was great.
so, I love that, fearless. That's so great.
Yeah. No,
great
so
name.
the way that my name came about, I guess, is my mom loved the name Elizabeth and wanted to name me Elizabeth really badly. And my dad went to school with a gal named Elizabeth and hated her. He was like, there's no way in hell my daughter is being called Elizabeth. And so I think my mom was like looking through a baby name book or something, and she found Lisanne with a Z. And my dad was like, nope, I don't want her called Liz, Lizzie, or anything close to Elizabeth. So they changed the Z to an S for Lisanne. And that's how it came about. But then my mom got so much flack from the family because they were like, we don't even know how to write this out on like Christmas cards or happy birthday, like we don't know how to spell it, blah 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 blah. And so my mom was so flustered that when my sister came along, she just named her Abigail. And my sister was kind of upset, so I'm really happy that I have a unique name. But yeah, the Fearless, and then I could get really tacky. My middle name is Lee, so I could do Fearlessly.
Oh, nice.
With my name.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really.
Yeah, and it's been something that I've really grown into. I got a tattoo a few years ago that reminded me to be fearless, and some people have been like, do you know how to spell? I'm like, actually, that's my name. So like it makes sense, and like it's more true and authentic to myself, but it's just such a good daily reminder of to be true to yourself, and like even if you are scared of things, like still go ahead and put your feet in and proceed with caution maybe, but continue on ahead. I think fear is really healthy. Because it forces us to face a reality that like internally like maybe we need to move through. So yeah.
Oh, that's another benefit of horses too.
Yeah.
Because they do, inspire awe and also some fear because they're big.
Mm-hmm.
And so working through that fear, I think that's another component of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just even working through the fear of just acknowledging where you're at to begin with. Back to that. So many people are so scared to humble themselves and say, I need help. So, yeah.
Well,
We'll see what that platform builds into later.
Yeah. Well, I might need help today. We'll see what happens.
Finn is great. You can watch the video of the 10-year-old to reassure yourself.
Yeah.
If you'd like to know more about the ride, please visit www.mustangdiscovery.com. If you'd like to support the upcoming documentary or docuseries, please visit jamediaconnections.com. We really do appreciate your support.